Welcome to Conversations on God with my friend David. It's been a while.
Been a while.
I've just been bombarded with people like, I need the next episode. I'm like, all right, finally, I'll do it.
Here we
Same with
go.
you?
No, haven't heard that.
No, answer that. Well, okay. So let's talk. This is kind of a continuation as we were talking about on one of our other videos of the shortcut to liberation. And what I'd like to hear from you is some mental techniques. It's so nice to have just mental techniques or ways to structure things in our brain, and it helps the rest of life fall into place. Our experiences of so techniques on dealing with the stresses of just everyday life, putting my kids to bed, and a client being mad at me, stresses of you know, is my family gonna, is my wife gonna be happy? Am I gonna pay my bills? I don't know. Whatever is considered the normal, uh, that will allow us to transcend this normal like rigmarole of life and get into this beingness, which is transcends any experience.
Right. So as I think about Baba's teachings and try to understand it and distill it, so we came up with we went over it in the A to B, right? Remember when we had the topic A to B, which
Yeah.
is also then we reiterated shortcut to liberation. So it's the understanding that it's getting beyond the mind that is the shortcut to liberation. So, to summarize it, there's mental things you can do that raise high frequency consciousness. And then once you raise that feeling, what my teacher called sacred feelings, then you quit doing the techniques that raise them and you just merge into the feeling, uh, and you stop thinking basically and just be, right? So
Yeah.
that's, to summarize that simply, one of the things he used to talk about. He goes, well, if you chant the name of God, that'll get you there, or write the name of God, or loving service. And then later on he goes, none of that will get you there. And that used to just throw me. It's like, what? And after studying and digging into it for a long time, what I realized what he was saying is you can do things where you use the mind to
Uh-huh.
raise those sacred feelings. But then the trick is drop the thinking, drop the methodology, and just merge into the feeling and be, right? So what that does is that takes you beyond mind and it starts to raise your frequency of consciousness, uh, where you get to a level you're above all the patterns, mind patterns, thinking patterns that you've accumulated over your many lifetimes. You get above those and you start logging time into beingness. And the more time you spend in beingness, the more it just kind of washes away all those patterns. Whereas if you try to undo those patterns with your mind, if you practice, whatever, being more patient, you practice being more kind, you practice, as long as you're staying in the mind, you're still to some degree energizing those patterns. It's when you get above the level of mind that and hold high frequency consciousness that it begins to uh, wash out those patterns, right? And I told you, Baba had given the example to a student. He was in their kitchen and there was a glass that had a bunch of dirty milk and bread, and he just turned on the faucet, started running the water in it. And as he ran the water, of course, it starts to overflow. Well, as it continues to overflow, it starts to wash out all the dirty old food and everything in the glass. Till pretty soon there's nothing but clean water in the glass. And I realized, and he said, this is the way. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized this is what he's talking about. So we went over that. And I think what he said, never gave any mantras for people. He said the most powerful thing you can do is say, I'm God, I'm God, I'm no different from God. And then I told you the guy named David Icke gave a variant of that, which is I am infinite consciousness having a human experience, right? So then I realized you can substitute I am infinite love having a human experience,
Mm-hmm.
infinite joy having a human experience. And what that is that's a way of breaking down the concept of I am God into bite-sized bites that might work better for you. But either whether you say I'm God, I'm God, I'm no different from God, or I'm infinite consciousness having a human experience, having a David experience.
Mm-hmm.
Methods of using your mind to bring up a powerful truth that if you say it and say it from the heart, don't just, again, because I spent a year going, I'm God, I'm God, I'm no different from God, and nothing happened. Because I was just saying it from the mind. And just by rote, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God, I'm no different from God, and just not much happened. You can't do it that way. You know, it's like if you're talking to your spouse and you go, yeah, I love you, I love you, you know, I love you, I love you, you know, and your spouse just looks at you like, I don't feel it. Whereas if you take a moment and just say it from your heart,
Mm-hmm.
I love you. Ah, now they feel that because you shifted out of just a mental thing and you shifted more to the heart center, right? And that's the trick. The trick is, and it's the same with prayer. Prayer just said from the brain goes nowhere. But if you move it down to that heart and you say it with sincerity and feeling, ah, now there's power behind it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the trick. You don't just say, I'm God, I'm God, I'm no different from God, and just keep chanting that all day. That's worthless. You just take a moment. And for me, I feel it more powerfully if I say, I am infinite love, having a human experience. I am infinite love, having a David experience. Uh, Now I begin to shift my consciousness and I begin to, so higher levels of your awareness begin to resonate with that and you begin to feel it. I am infinite awareness, having a human experience. So you say it with feeling till you begin to feel that expansion of love or awareness or peace, whatever concept that you're tuning into. And when you begin to feel that expansion, or you begin to feel that peace or that love, then stop talking, quit thinking, and just put your awareness into that feeling of expansion, a feeling of love, feeling of peace, whatever one you chose, feeling of God. I mean, if that's, to me, that's just too big of a bite. So I break it into smaller pieces. And once you begin to feel that, then just merge your awareness into that. And that's not anything esoteric. It's like if you're eating the most delicious dessert you ever had in your life, you know, if you're just shoveling it down your throat and talking to your friend at the same time, it's far different than if you go, wait a minute, wait a minute. Oh my God, that's so good. You put your awareness into the flavor and the feel. So you're shifting your attention into the your senses, right? So you really enjoy that dessert. Well, this same thing, but you're shifting your attention into that feeling of peace or that feeling of love or that feeling of infinite consciousness. And then you just ride that as long as you can. right? So at first, maybe just a couple moments. Then you might have to go back. I am infinite peace everywhere. Then you feel it come back, and then just hold it. And when it starts to slip away, say it again. I am infinite peace beyond time and space. And then ride it as long as you can. So it's like a muscle that you're developing that's maybe weak at first. You can't hold it very long. But as you practice it, just spend a few minutes each day. It's a joyful practice.
Mm.
And the one that resonates with you the most, whether it's peace or joy or bliss or love or awareness, or consciousness, I am infinite consciousness. Whatever one resonates with you the easiest, start there. And just spend a few minutes each day doing that. So what'll happen is you'll get to the point where you go deeper and you hold it longer, right? So then what you'll find is it leaves you with a residual feeling of stillness. That's the other one. I am infinite stillness, right? It leaves you with a residual feeling of peace or joy or love. And try to now get up and go about your day, but try to hold on to that feeling best you can, right? It won't be as intense as if when you're sitting quietly. But what happens is you start to feel this energy building up in the background where it's easier to tap into it. It's easier to hold on to a certain amount of it, right? And hold on to it through the day best you can. Yogananda used to talk about when you sit and meditate and you feel that deep peace, you don't just jump up and go about your business. He says it's like milking a cow. And you spend a half hour milking the cow, you got a bucket full of milk, and you jump up and knock over the pail.
Mm-hmm.
He said, get up slowly and try to hold on to it. So that's the trick. So now the second part of this is okay, so you've learned how to shift into higher frequency consciousness, and it's very pleasant because you're actually, you could say, as you raise your frequency, you start pulling out of the everyday world and the difficulties and the struggle and the suffering and the hubbub, and you start to feel some more peace, start to feel more joy, you start to feel more love, right? So that's like coming home. You're starting to move in the direction of your infinite nature, which of course is recharging and it's rejuvenating. So then you go out in the real world and, maybe your boys are punching each other in the face, screaming,
Yes.
right? Or whatever you deal with on a daily basis. So then a lot of times, boom, it just evaporates, right? First person that cuts you off on the freeway.
Right.
First letter you opens from the IRS, you owe money. Oh, you got one of the good hydrogen generators, huh?
Oh yeah.
Very nice.
Fancy.
Yeah. So, yep, there it is. So, so this is where what the heck good is spirituality if you can't hold it past your cross-legged sitting on the floor,
I
right?
know.
Yeah. So then the next thing is then, okay, so how do you hold it into your day? Well,
Yeah.
this Baba was brilliant. Brilliant. It's like, so there's concepts that you can begin to practice that help you hold on to it easier, rather than I'm not going to get mad, I'm not going to get mad. That doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
Right. But like one of the first ones that I understood from Baba's teachings was everything is from God for your highest good. Or another way of saying it is everything is a blessing. So if you realize that there's no accidents, there's no coincidences. The whole system was set up in this human life to give you the opportunity to train. And Bob had said, life's a game, play it. And my best understanding of that, this is the game. You know, it's like if you ever, as a kid, got up on a fence wide enough you can stand on and balance. And then, okay, so that's the game. You try to hold your balance, right? And then maybe when you get really good at it and your friends get really good at it, then you both get up there and try to knock each other off, right? So it's a game of unbalancing each other, right? And or whatever variation. You can just do it on the ground, but have a line you got to stand on, and the first person that loses their balance and steps off the line loses, right? So in a sense, that's the game. The game is okay. Once you understand the game is to hold your balance in high frequency, and you start to play it, start playing it by yourself first, right? It's like trying to walk on that fence by yourself. Then you get pretty decent at it. You can hold that peace longer and longer. God says, okay, great. Okay, you got it. All right, now I'm gonna come and I'm gonna see if I can knock you off the balance. Let's see how strong you can hold your balance. So that's the game. You could say that the creator is playing with us once you understand the game. But really, I mean, it probably takes thousands of lifetimes to realize there's a game going on. Most of the time, you know, it's like I'm sure everybody's experienced. You're having a good day and you're driving to work or some appointment where you got to be there at a certain time, and you left with lots of time, and then you hit a red light. Say, okay. Then you hit the next red light, and then you hit the next red. You're hitting every freaking light, and pretty soon you're swearing and cussing and slamming the car dash, right? If you're anything like me, and it's just God messing with you, but not messing with you. God doesn't mess with you just to mess with you because he's bored. It's like, can you see me? You realize it's me, right? So usually if I'm hitting every red light and I start getting upset and I realize, okay, all right, God, you got me. And I just surrender. It's like, all right, well, I'll get there when I get there. Then a lot of times now I start hitting the green lights again. So that's God saying, yeah, yeah, just remember the game. Hold your peace. Hold your peace. And it's like today, I'm having a horrible day. Started getting a headache because I'm just getting mad about it. Then I had to remember it's like, okay, it's God, you know. All right, all right, yeah, fine, 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 fine. Let go of my attachment to things going well and just be at peace with it, right? So, but that's the game that he plays with you. And really, uh, it's to make you stronger at holding higher and higher frequency. So once you understand the game and you start to play it, start to get fairly good at it, what will happen is your overall frequency slowly starts creeping up. And along with that comes more peace, more joy, more happiness. You feel better. Life is better. It just feels better. So what happens is, as it, you know, if I could draw a line, it's trending upward, right? And of course, there's bad days, but what will happen is your worst days now are better than your best days used to be 10 years ago. Right? And so then you'll get to the point where you almost never have a day where you're in a negative state. It's just levels of peace and joy. So a little peace and joy, a lot of peace and joy, but pretty good all day. And it's going to get rarer and rarer where you just have the days where you're just going, oh my God, you know, it's everything is, you just, so those start to get less and less. And that's the game. That's really the game here in this particular point in time on this planet as a human. Because as you raise your frequency, you start tapping into higher and higher levels of information. So you start having a greater and greater understanding. And I guess it appears as wisdom. You start becoming a wiser, happier person that makes a greater and greater contribution to the world, even if it's not anything you say or do. By just holding higher frequency, you help people around you, you help pull up their frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the big picture, that's the battle right now on the planet. The planet is for shifting the human consciousness field, which is one field. It's not billions of separate fields, it's one field. And the battle going on right now are the left-hand forces that are trying to bring the frequency down, because when human frequency is low, they're much easier to manipulate and use.
Mm-hmm.
Those on the right-hand path that are trying to raise the frequency of the humanity, because we're on the verge, we have the potential of becoming a sacred planet if we hit that breakover point, where
Mm-hmm.
the consciousness of the whole planet shifts and it becomes a golden age. Right. So you play the game as an individual, but understand you're also playing for team right hand path or team left hand path.
Mm-hmm.
So your points that you score actually go towards the team score.
Or team lukewarm.
Or
Or
team lukewarm, right? Yeah, team lukewarm.
it's probably the most populated team.
It is the most populated team. It is the most populated team. So that's it. So what are some of the ones? Well, the one, some of the ones, um, well, the one that really made the biggest impact on me, because it was really the first of what I was teaching that I really kind of understood. Everything is a blessing. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is a blessing. And that's not to mean everything is enjoyable or
Yeah.
fun, but some of the most powerful catalysts for your growth are those that are painful, right? Whether it's letting go of your attachments, right? Yeah, that if I can't get that house, I'm just never going to be happy. Okay, you gotta let go of it. Let go of it. Learn to be happy with whatever you have, right? Or forgiveness. I'll never forgive that person. That's God operating through that person that brought you that, whatever they brought you that was you're having trouble forgiving. That's God bringing you that as a catalyst.
Mm.
You can forgive someone that you didn't even want to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tremendous raising of your frequency. Well, you feel it. If anybody listening, if you ever had somebody you really had trouble with and you finally are able to truly forgive them, it's like a huge weight comes off.
Oh yeah.
So forgiveness, right? So the other thing is Baba talks about how you have to have for real spiritual growth, you have to have a positive attitude. But most of us, a positive attitude is we think of a little positive icing on a big negative cake.
A big cake of crap.
Yeah. So all day we're doing down, dirty thinking. This, why me? Why this person? And you come home, okay, positive thinking. Okay, all right, yeah, thank you God for. Well, he said, no. He says it has to be all day to really see the power of it. You have to catch yourself with any negative thinking. And what I find is one of the first things with negative thinking is first accept it. I have to first accept it. It's like, yeah, all right, my life stinks right now. I'm broke, hate my job. Okay, all right, I accept that. But maybe tomorrow I can make it a little better. I'll just do something a little positive tomorrow. Right. So accept it. First accept it, and then say, look at what can I do to make it a little better, just a little better. Don't go crazy. Just person you hate at your office because they're such a jerk, right? And you don't even want to look at this person because you want to punch them in the face, right? You just say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to say good morning and with a smile on my face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all. I'm going to try that. So you go in the morning and you see his ugly face, and you go, good morning. Now you want to punch him in the face. At least you made an effort. Just okay. Next time I'm going to say good morning and just try to keep a positive attitude. There's got to be something good about him. I mean, maybe his mom loves him. Just so you just start working on your negative attitude. And to me, the most powerful of them all, the most powerful mental trick is this too is God and this too is perfect. This too is God, and I used to work on saying, well, God's in there somewhere. When you see somebody that's you just can't stand, God's in there somewhere. And when Baba said, he goes, yeah, he says, that's not bad. He goes, but it's better to say this is a manifestation of God, not that God's in there somewhere. This is a manifestation of God, right? So for me, that's pretty powerful. This too is God, this person too is God, this situation is God, and it's exactly right. It's providing catalyst for somebody somewhere, right? So it has to be.
Mm.
So to me, that's one of the most. First, I started with everything is from God. Everything's from God as a blessing and move me in the right direction. To this is God. This is God. This is one of the manifestations of God, and it's a catalyst sent by the Creator to help move us in the right direction. And it
Mm.
just you don't just put up with the suffering of dealing with idiots and say, "Oh yeah, it's moving in the right direction." No, you gotta love them, see them as a piece of God. Well, you can't. Maybe you can't start with love. Maybe just don't hate them.
Mm.
Try
Yeah,
to
man.
see this is a piece of God. Okay, it's necessary. I'm not really crazy about it, but okay. And then maybe you get to the point where you can see more as a piece of God, providing a catalyst that's actually helping me grow. Because if I can feel some positive feelings for this person, I've grown a lot. Right?
Hmm.
Just put it this way, paraphrasing Jesus. I'm not at all impressed if you love those that love you, even the scribes and the Pharisees and the hypocrites, they do that. Big freaking deal. He said, I'm asking you to love those that hate you and are trying to destroy you. Ah, so there it is. He said, that's what I'm asking of you, because you'll grow tremendously. And you might have to try all kinds of tricks to be able to do that.
Hmm.
That's worthwhile, because when you can begin to love even those that you despise, then everybody else is a piece of cake. So you've purified your heart tremendously. Now your love has grown. And your love has grown, and that directly is creating higher frequency consciousness. Thoughts have vibration. Your thoughts are what determines your frequency of consciousness. So by changing your thoughts to more correct ways of looking at the world, you're raising your consciousness. So getting back to the part A and B. So let's just say you can say, I am infinite consciousness having a human experience. You're doing it at home all by yourself, and you just feel that expansion of consciousness. You feel the peace and joy in your heart. Well, if you're going to work and you haven't worked on seeing God in everyone and everything, then the moment you see the face of that person you can't stand, boom, your consciousness drops, that vibration drops, and all the misery and unhappiness that comes with it. So God has provided the game, and he plays the opposite side of the game. You always have God to play that game with you. And sometimes he gives you a break. Sometimes he goes, you're doing really good. I'm going to give you today off, and I'm just going to pour love on you from everybody, and everything's going to go great. Well, don't get too used to it, because that's usually he's just giving you a rest before he comes at you harder. But the thing is if you recognize it as game God's playing with you, you got a much better chance of keeping your balance.
Hmm. Hmm. I really like I really like just seeing everything as an opportunity to love as well. Uh, the the path of devotion or the path of knowledge, because I've been really into the path of knowledge for a long time, and it's really hard. I get beat up the
Yeah.
path of knowledge.
Baba
And
said it's a really hard path. It's a really hard path.
but the path of devotion, I've been shifted lately, and got off my high horse base, my spiritual high horse, my spiritual assholeness of
Well, the thing about
of
that
eliteness.
high horse, it hurts like hell when you fall off that horse.
It does.
Well, this
And
is why Baba says the path of wisdom is the path of the baby monkey. Climb on mom's back, hold on for dear life. You slip, you fall a long way. Path of devotion is a path of the baby kitten. Mother cat picks the baby kitten up by the back of the neck and carries her everywhere and protects her. It's like, yeah, I like that one. I'm basically like the lazy version of
yeah.
spiritual growth, and it actually surrounds you with a big buffer. The
Hmm.
buffer gets bigger and bigger and bigger, where it takes really more and more of a horrible day to penetrate your happiness.
Hmm.
First, especially on the path of wisdom, just anything starts to go wrong, you're already aggravated, and then you're fighting with that all day, which that reflects back from other people. Now you're even more aggravated. Whereas the path of love and devotion, by seeing God in everyone, they feel that and they start to see God in you, and they just like you. They
Hmm.
just like you, and people just like you and love you, and it just gets easier and easier. So there's still times when God's going to test you, right? But that buffer gets bigger and bigger. So
Hmm.
you're going to find, as that buffer zone gets bigger and bigger, you have more and more good days, and it just seems like, man, everybody likes me. Everything's going good. I love
Yeah.
everybody. Everybody loves me,
Yeah.
right? Till you get tested. But I mean, but if you recognize it's a test from God, you'll do better with it. If you forget, then you'll just have a rough time.
Yeah. My wife is really great at Carolyn. She's everybody loves her. She's like, you know, like this, she walks around and people spill their guts to her
Yeah,
constantly. It's like abnormal, right? And she's like really happy, and she's got a wonderful life all the time. And I kind of walk around like a big grump all the time
yeah.
because of
Well, she probably loves people. She probably just likes people, and it's
yeah,
reflected back.
it's a much better way of life
Yeah,
compared.
think of Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, other heavyweights that came after, they figure if I just beat him up, then everybody will love me. That's not how it worked at all. But
Yeah.
it's because Muhammad Ali had tremendous love for people. I
Hmm.
mean, he really did. I mean, if you ever really look into his life, he had tremendous love for people, and they just loved him back. But that's how
Hmm.
it works. The universe will reflect back your internal state.
Hmm.
So, the path of devotion, by seeing God, seeing your beloved in everyone, then you just can't help but love him. Oh, what an interesting aspect of God here.
Hmm.
Unique, kind of annoying, but kind of sweet in its own way. You love them, and they can't help but love you back. So, I mean,
Right.
like Baba says, it's a much easier path. Well, we're about out of time, huh?
I think so.
All right.
I
Well,
like the shortcuts.
yeah.
Everything's from God. Forgive, let go,
See
stay
God as
positive.
one. See everything as a piece of God. Everything is perfect, right? And even the difficulties, it's given by God to help you practice keeping your balance. It's a
Yep.
catalyst, right?
Yep.
So practice those things, and it helps you then hold that state of beingness much easier. And the longer you hold it, the deeper you go.
That's good. Thank you, David.